Hi, I'm Rick, the Digital Content Manager at TIER, the Institute for Agriculture and Horticulture. And I'm here today speaking to Alistair Gibb, a Senior Consultant at Cedar Associates. You're an expert in management and recruitment processes for businesses, including farming and growing businesses. And here, today we're going to be looking at the important steps and actions that farmers and growers can take in order to see the maximum yield in their recruitment processes. So already on the TIER website we have a complete webinar, thankfully Alistair recorded with us, and that goes into the depths of the whole recruitment process and how you can really optimise your chances when hiring for the long term. We also have a full recruitment toolkit with various tools and templates, but really what we're wanting to look at today is what the key actions that any farm owner or manager can do to really optimise their success, the chances of success when hiring on their farm business. Just the key first steps that they can make. So thanks for joining us today, Alistair.
Pleasure.
What would you say of all of the actions that are in that best practice toolkit for recruitment? What would you say would be the key items that any farm owner or manager could look to adopt in their recruitment process to really optimise those chances?
Sure. I think always a good start if somebody leaves or leaves a gap in the team that needs filling. It's always worthwhile stepping back and identifying, do we reorganise responsibilities and who does what, or what role do we want to fill, or does that give us an opportunity to fill a slightly different role? So that's often a good question to ask at the very outset. Often helpful if somebody is leaving to check in with them if there's things that the business should do differently that may be helpful for anybody else that comes along in the future. So those are good things to do, if somebody is leaving or exiting the business in the first place. And then from there, once you've decided whether you're going to fill an existing role as it was before or whether you reorganise it, you can then go back and fundamentally sort of think about the job. So if it's a slightly changed job, you can certainly do the job description for that, what are the main responsibilities and tasks that the individual would do. And that's what's most common in a lot of businesses that might use job descriptions. But actually, even more importantly, I would say, is developing a person specification. Is who's the right person to fill the job that we've determined here? And that person spec, is usually going to identify not just possibly some of the experiences they've got, but what are some of the attributes that they have? Are there any sort of potential qualifications that might be useful? So what it does is it defines, what are all the things about the person that we're looking for that would be right for that job role.
And taking stock of all of those different elements, like really thinking about those qualifications or personal attributes, just that moment to think about what those are gives you also a chance to think about how you're going to assess them in that recruitment process, whether or not that's in like the job application form or any other step, right? Yeah.
To me, the person spec, everything else is pivots around it. Right. And it underpins everything that you do there on in the whole recruitment process. So I would say it's the most important document to set up, because what it enables you to do then is when you define the attributes and experience or qualities that you're looking for in somebody, what you can identify is which are the essential attributes a person needs to have to fulfill the job, but also what are the desirable ones. Now, when it comes to finding or advertising for applicants, you can pick out the essential criteria and use those to incorporate that into your advert in whichever form you put it out in. Then it also enables you, when it comes to shortlisting candidates, either through CVs or applications, you can look out for, do they seem to have some of the attributes that you're looking for, particularly the essential ones. If they have the desirable ones, great. But desirable are things that can be developed or trained in people where needed. So you can assess the shortlisting against those criteria. You can develop key questions to identify, are people able to address and satisfy those essential and some of the desirable criteria. So it allows you to be very objective in your sort of whole recruitment process, which is really important, that you assess people against some objective criteria, not against other candidates that you decide to invite and interview, for example.
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial point, because I know in the webinar that you hosted for us, you made a really good point about assessing people against those criteria rather than against each other, because if you just assess people against other applicants, you can easily lead yourself into the situation where you just accept the best from a bad bunch because they scored better than the others. But that, if they don't meet those essential criteria, that's very likely going to lead to an unsuccessful appointment.
Yeah. And I think the other kind of important thing is, so often when all the investment of time has gone into find some people to interview and take them through that process, if we don't have those criteria to work with, the risk is, we'll just find ourselves back in the same position again, where somebody's not going to work out, and then we're back to square one again, and we go through the whole process. And probably the hardest decision for any person recruiting has to make is, having gone through the whole process, and you might have interviewed several people, is to then ultimately make the decision that actually nobody meets all the essential criteria, and that rules them out, and we will have to start again. But even if you have to start again, it saves you time rather than taking on somebody who's not going to make the cut, really.
Yeah.
So that helps you be a lot more objective and ruthless if need be with the decision, rather than being caught up with, well, I've put all the time in, I need somebody, I'll just take them because they were the best of the bunch, but they didn't quite meet all the criteria, the essential criteria.
Absolutely, yeah. When recruitment is already like a well-identified pain point for farmers across the country already, to knowingly appoint someone that you already have doubts out, will likely just see you return to the same situation again.
And also consider the cost. Taking on the wrong person to then have to manage them and then manage them back out of the business and then go back through the whole process again, all comes at a cost. So save yourself time and money by the quality of decisions that you make against that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. The next thing I'd really like to ask you about is a subject matter that's been in the news anyway quite a bit for the last couple of years. Our best practice guide to recruitment, much like those of other industries, includes information on how you can monitor and track the equity, diversity and inclusion of your workforce. But maybe many owners and managers of businesses might not be quite aware of what the benefits of monitoring those are. So would you be able to explain a couple of reasons why it might be a really worthwhile exercise?
Yes, I think traditionally, in the industry, historically it's been male dominated, and I think what's great to see now is there's a bigger balance of certainly other genders now coming into the workplace and the workforce, and everybody brings something to the table at the end of the day. And given that recruiting and finding people has become harder and harder in every sector, if you rule out or don't open the doors to be able to sort of invite other people to feel comfortable to apply for jobs, maybe you're limiting opportunities for the business in terms of what other people may bring to the job. And I think that kind of equality, diversity, inclusion kind of stuff is, diversity opens up other doors, other opinions, other ideas that people can bring to it. And yes, you want to have good chemistry within a team to make a team function well and find the right people to fit that. But maybe what we don't want to do is close the doors to potential applicants that might be out there or interested to, come into the industry. And it's how do we kind of, cater for that.
I think that's really important. It's, for me, from speaking to some other progressive farmer owners and managers, it's about, like you say, opening doors, opening up new opportunities for other people. But it's also, certainly in some of the larger businesses, it's about tracking what the needs of the current workforce might be too, and like making sure that you can be shown to be a progressive, professional environment. So you're showing that you're investing in the needs of that workforce too, whether that be like religious or like you say, gender-based needs, if they need facilities for the bathrooms or anything else like that as well.
Yeah, very much.
And it's only by monitoring that you can get that information, right?
Yeah.
But like opening the doors to a wider workforce is a huge thing, as you say, given the pain points for recruitment at the moment.
Very much.
Brilliant. One last thing for today. You've been a fantastic help for us in our webinar and looking over various resources we've got for farm owners and managers looking to recruit. But there's one large piece template that we have on offer for all of our farmer owner and manager members, and that's we offer a full recruitment policy document that they can download and customize to their own needs. Some businesses may not have already used a policy, a formal policy for their recruitment process. So would you be able to explain a couple of the benefits and some of the reasons that they might want to adopt that?
Sure. I think most people would look at larger businesses being ones that generally have a raft of policies, etc. in place. And I think the benefit for smaller businesses and a lot of businesses in the land-based sector is often the template that you have available, for example. What it does is it just causes people to work through it and check off, have I got the right kind of processes and structure in place that ultimately will protect me? Because once you get into recruitment, you also get into the field of employment law. And the last thing you want to do is be accused of any risk of discrimination, which you can't be at risk of when you start interviewing candidates. So what you don't want to do is find yourself in a position that somebody is pushing back after an interview and going, well, I felt discriminated against here for any way, shape or form. And I think as a result of that, it just helps help anybody who's recruiting navigate that minefield that employment law can create, and recruitment can be one of them. And I think being objective in your approach and being able to demonstrate that if you need to, if somebody did push back or accused you of any discriminatory process in any way, shape or form, is important for any business to kind of protect itself. And I think it's a great checklist almost is what it provides, for business owners.
And I think, as with the equity and diversity and inclusion stuff, it also offers a really good signal to potential staff or existing staff that you're wanting and insisting on running a professional outfit.
Sure.
If you're willing to put the time and the effort in to go through those rigorous procedures and actually lay them down and show that you're a professional outfit, maybe you're going to be more of a professional business in dealing with their own, like CPD, continuing professional development needs, or investing in the staff in that way too. So I think there's real benefits on both sides of that argument too. Yeah, indeed.
But ultimately, anything that keeps you out of the minefield of employment law, all to the good. And yes, and I think when you run objective kind of a professional approach to recruitment, even for those people who are unsuccessful when they get through to interview stage, actually appreciate how they've been dealt with and handled in the process. And even though you might not employ them at that stage, who knows? Down the road, when another job comes along and maybe they've got a different experience to bring, they may be inclined to apply again because of the experience they've had.
Exactly, and by having that professional experience and that professional relationship with them already, even if they may have not succeeded in their first application, it also gives you a route to go back to someone that you feel has done well in a previous interview, so you can maybe even present them a job and say, I'm looking for somebody to fill this, would you be interested in actively invite them to that recruitment campaign?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time once again.
You're welcome.
You've been very kind to Tier over a couple of years of development so far. And as mentioned, we have a whole range of tools and toolkits and advice and documents for the whole recruitment process, like a gold standard best practice for recruiting for your own farm business, including a full 1 hour webinar hosted by Alistair Gibb here on hiring for the long term. Tier members can watch that back at their own leisure whenever they wish and download any of those tools and templates. But for now, thank you once again.
Yep, thank you.